So a cost of living election is now underway, and joining us live is RedBridge Group Director Samaras. We will start with how trends are emerging. Cos, what's the latest stats that you have this morning with how people are feeling?
Well, the only thing we could say is over the last 3 weeks, Labor's been able to stabilise its primary vote, and I'll say that the coalition is experiencing some volatility on its flanks. I mean, that's the feature of this campaign, and it will be, I think, going forward for many elections to come. And that is major parties fray on their flanks, don't necessarily swap votes. Now, there is some swapping going on, of course, but we will see, a contest where both major camps are trying to basically animate their flanks. Quick snapshot of what I mean there is, so in 2022, Labor won only 6 seats out of Western Australia. In those 6 seats, they enjoyed a 3% swing on primary vote, but the coalition lost 8% of its primary vote in those seats. So, and they lost it to the right flanks. That's going to continue.
So you've got the main policy pictures at the moment from Labor. It is those tax cuts, and from the coalition, it's the halving of the fuel excise. Have you got any data on which one people prefer at this early stage?
Band-aids. That's right. Pretty much how voters describe it. It's band-aids.
So neither work?
Neither work in terms of capturing the hearts and minds of a generation of Australians who think their lives are going to be worse than their parents. And particularly those living in the outer suburbs, but it wouldn't actually exclude those in the inner suburbs of our large cities either. Those renters, professional renters who are struggling with housing affordability as well. So they'll take the band-aids. They, gives you some relief in your energy bills and so on, but it's still very much the politics of incrementalism. And in an environment where the country, and particularly the generation that's going to determine this result, are looking for something a bit more substantial.
We just heard from Tom talking about the rise of the Teals. What's the data that you have on not just the Teals, but also the downward vote, it seems, on the Greens?
Yeah, so we've detected a bit of a stabilisation in the Greens' primary vote. And just on the Greens, I think, we go to the state of Victoria, the Labor brain's in deep trouble here. And I think that problem that Labor's experiencing may actually be also to the benefit of the Greens, not just to the coalition. So in the federal seat of Wills and the federal seat of Macnamara, the Greens could actually snap those seats up. So they can go from 4 to 6 pretty quickly. Although I might say the federal seat of Brisbane might actually fall, to either the LNP in Queensland or the Labor Party.
That's Max Chandler-Mather.
Max Chandler-Mather's seat of Griffiths, I think, could be fine. Yeah, he's got a very good brand.
Okay, because, we were talking about this a little earlier and the damage that might have been done by him, campaigning with the CFMEU, yes. Not to mention, anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't helpful for their brand. Absolutely not helpful for their brand. Yeah.
So when you refer to the issues in Victoria, much of that are state problems. Do you think that translates to federal voting?
Absolutely. And so in all the polling that we're putting together, and other pollsters as well, the best way I can capture this is that you're looking at a 2 to 3% swing in New South Wales, which is a swing state now. And you could see a seat like Gilmore, Robertson, Patterson, being won by the coalition, and then it starts to get a bit difficult for the coalition. In Victoria, we're still seeing swings of 8% on two-party preferred basis against the Labor Party. Some of that in Melbourne's West is spraying all over the place, but in Melbourne's Southeast, it's going directly to the coalition. So on a really bad day, Labor could lose up to 6-7 seats in Victoria.
We just spoke about scare campaigns as well. Are folks talking about that? Do they work, Cos?
Not in 2025.
The people are aware of it.
When you didn't have anything. Yeah, they probably work when you didn't have anything to worry about, right? When the country's economy was bubbling along really well 15 years ago. But right now, I think it just drives voters mad, and they are starving for that hope, that inspiration. And what is the plan, even for older Australians, to give them comfort that their kids and their grandkids are going to be able to live the same life as they did? Even older Australians are not seeing that.
Are we talking about proper tax reform here that's needed, Cos?
Yes, absolutely. Tax reform in a very substantial structural way that convinces voters that the world is going to change for them. At the moment, that's not the case.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll get some business on that now. But, Cos, really appreciate that. We'll talk to you a few times over the next 5 weeks, I suspect. But thanks for getting up for us today, and we'll talk to you again soon.